All right, let's go to our colleague Jessica Schneider. She joins us now. Jess, I mean, gosh, this bulletin from the FBI is terrifying. What are they warning of?
Yeah, we've taken a look at it, Jim and Poppy. It is a lengthy internal bulletin, and in it, the FBI is warning law enforcement officers all over the country about what could be a cascade of uprisings and violence, not just here, but in all 50 states. So this bulletin makes a number of different points. So first of all, that there are credible calls for armed protests at the 50 state capitals and here at the U.S. Capitol in the lead up to the inauguration next week. Plus, the FBI is warning about a group that's calling for others to join them to storm government courthouses, administrative buildings, if the president is removed from office prior to January 20th. And possibly most alarming is that law enforcement is seeing a number of threats against President-elect Joe Biden, as well as Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. So federal agents, they are monitoring all of these threats in real time, but they are spelling it out for law enforcement officers across the country at the 50-plus field offices that these are real threats and they are spread far and wide. So there is a lot that law enforcement has to do here to understand these threats and then tackle them, Jim and Poppy.
Wow. It's hard to believe it's happening. Jessica, thank you for the reporting.
For more on this, and there is much more to discuss, we're joined now by CNN National Security Analyst Julia Kayyem, who served in the Department of Homeland Security, certainly well aware of the details and depth of threats in this country. First, Julia, can you give our viewers and Poppy and I some context here on the degree of this threat right now? I mean, a bulletin talking about armed protests in all 50 state capitals, and now more uniformed military, National Guardsmen in D.C. by a factor of 4 than in all of Afghanistan today, at least.
Exactly. Yes. And so, okay, so this is now pre-positioning because we are taking this threat seriously. As you know, I have been arguing, this is domestic terrorism. We are in America's largest domestic terrorism effort, I think, against an internal threat that we have right now that is not the Civil War. And we have to treat it as such. We have been too nice, I would say, so far as Trump began to radicalize his extreme supporters. And we weren't calling it what it was. So now that we're calling it what it is, you're seeing the FBI move forward in a traditional counterterrorism effort, which is essentially get ready because we don't have a good sense of what's going to happen. And secondly, massive arrests. These public arrests that you are seeing are purposeful because they are saying to the radical element within Trump supporters, he's not saving you. He is not saving you. And that's a good thing.
You have, to that point, exactly, Juliet, a really interesting new piece in The Atlantic this morning, and you write, viewing Trump's insurrection through a counterterrorism lens unlocks some insights about how to de-radicalize his most violent supporters. Tell us more about that, because that's really about a solution.
Exactly. So we're not there yet. And I think what we have to remember is Trump is the spiritual, but I will also say operational leader of this domestic terrorism effort. He tells them where to go. He tells them what to do. He tells them why they're angry. And so we need to start at the top, like any counterterrorism effort, which is total isolation of the President of the United States. Impeachment, yes. 25th Amendment, yes. Deplatforming, yes. All of the above. No money, no access to campaign funds. A complete isolation, because as the leader of a terrorist organization is viewed as a loser, as a not winner, it is harder for him to recruit. Look, he's going to have his radical elements. We will arrest them. We will isolate them. But what we have to make sure is that Donald Trump does not have a second act. I know I sound incredibly harsh right now calling the president this, but we are in the tactical response right now. Enough with the let's unity and stuff. This is a tactical effort right now to make sure that we protect American citizens and, of course, the next president of the United States.
I mean, it's amazing to hear you say those words, the leader of a terrorist movement. It's just alarming. I want to ask you about concerns about, I don't know if infiltration is the right word, but we have 2 Capitol Hill police officers who've been suspended for helping, it seems, these rioters, others being investigated. You have current and former law enforcement and military being investigated for participating. I mean, you have the image of that Air Force vet decorated standing on the floor of the House with zip ties. How severe does the internal threat go, to our knowledge, within law enforcement and the military?
Well, we certainly have had knowledge of it, at least arrest. But here's what needs to happen, because it is clear that there is a radicalized, violent element within some of these police departments. The military has been monitoring for a while. The shocker was, of course, the Secret Service, which tends to be viewed as a more elite entity. So there needs to be an immediate scrub of these people, and I mean it in the nicest way possible. The unions are very important in this regard. The unions have been way too passive about MAGA and about Trump. They need to get on their personnel. And then finally, and I just, leave everyone with hope. It's going to be a hard couple days. The extent to which Donald Trump, his family, and his enablers have nurtured white radical extremism, racism is the right way to put it, we can't even measure it. They have welcomed this element back publicly. It's always been there, but they've welcomed them publicly. And I think a lot of shaming has to occur, a lot of isolation has to occur, and then we can talk about unity. But we're in the tactical phase of a counterterrorism effort right now.
Juliet, thank you. We're so glad to have your voice on all of this. We are watching to see if the president does speak to reporters, answer their